So I was able to choose whatever I wanted for this quick presentation. I have 15 minutes, and I decided to just call 3 things. 1 is the little stuff. So by a quick show of hands, who here drinks coffee? Cool. Keep your hand up if you drink it every day. Okay, so most people. So if you drink coffee, you're probably used to this. Every day around the country, millions of Americans line up in droves for their favorite cup of joe. And not only are the lines long, but in some cases, the coffee could be upwards of $5 a cup. And so it makes you think, like, how much is your coffee really costing you? So if you spend $5 on coffee every single day, it would be about $1,825 is how much you'd be spending every single year. And if you had a 15% marginal tax rate, it would cost you about $2,100 just to sustain that morning ritual. This is usually where I get laughs, and people are like, "Oh crap, it's changed." It's a scary thing, right? So it adds up. That's just the beginning, right? That's the cost. What if you took the cost and you flipped it? You turned a small cost into a small savings. Well, if you invested this amount into, let's say, your 401k or retirement plan every year, you do that every single year on January 1st using a 7% compounding interest rate. After 20 years, you'd have almost $80,000, and by 40 years, you'd have almost $400,000. But that's not completely fair because there's something called an employee match, where some employers will match dollars you contribute. So if we double that, and you do that every single year, 20 years, you'd have $151,000. By 40 years, you have $750,000. So if you just graduate college and you follow this amazing wisdom here, by the time you're retirement age, 67 years old, you'd actually have $1 million in retirement. So if you look at this as investment advice, though, you're actually missing the point. And the point is that small everyday habits compound and they can create extraordinary gains. All you have to do is just get a little bit better versus a little bit worse, and the difference in what you can achieve is unbelievable. For example, if you did just get 1% better every single day for a year versus 1% worse, we're talking 1,400 times different at the end of the year. And said another way, success is simply a few small disciplines practiced every day, whereas failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. So are you getting 1% better or 1% worse? And this idea of just slightly better actually extends not to just how you improve, but think about it, you're applying for a job. You don't actually have to be dramatically better than anybody else, right? You just have to be 1% better than the other person to get the job. Same thing if you're running a track meet or you're competing for gold. No one cares. Like, you don't have to be Usain Bolt. You just have to be slightly better than the other person. And so small everyday habits compound, and all you have to do is just be a little bit better. Okay, 2, our goals are backwards. Raise your hand if you know who these 3 people are. Okay, does anyone want to name them? Yeah?
Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, Bill Gates.
Cool. And just, anyone can shout out, what are some things that all 3 of these people have in common? Money. That is true. They're all billionaires, right? But another thing that they have in common that not everybody knows is they're avid readers and learners. So Warren Buffett claims he reads 500 pages of net new content every single day. Mark Cuban says he reads for 5 to 6 hours, just learning, chooses books, etc. And Bill Gates claims to finish 1 new book every single week, just on learning. And so here's the question, right? So that's like a habit, right? That's something that they do that builds their character, but they're also a billionaire. And it's like, well, which one of these is the goalpost, right? And if you ask people, a lot of people say, well, I want to become a billionaire, or I want to become a millionaire. And what I posit is that these are really great goals, but they're actually just goalposts of success. They're benchmarks showing you that you've already achieved, not necessarily forecasting you into the future. And here's what I mean by that. Small habits represent most of your total potential, versus these defining moments, also importantly true, are just a piece of that. And as I was saying before, your small habits are actually forward-looking predictors of success, right? If you told me every single day that you woke up pretty early and you exercised, I would be able to have a better prediction of your success out in the world or in your health and your future than if you just gave me some sort of big, lofty, defining moment that you would like to achieve. And so when you're, I guess, running your organizations or also thinking about yourself, consider the types of goals that you're actually setting for yourself. Are they forward-looking or are they backward-looking? Another way, successful people aren't born that way. They become successful by establishing the habit of doing things that unsuccessful people don't like to do. It's the habit. So, are your goals forwards or backwards? Number 3, choose happiness. I talked a lot about forward-looking predictors. This is where I believe you can get the most bang for your buck. Popular opinion suggests that if you work hard, you're going to be successful, and if you're successful, well, then you're going to be happy. But the problem is when we approach happiness in this linear format, we never actually get there. Because whenever we become successful, we just change the goalpost of success, right? You got a good job, you need to get a better job. You got into a great school, you need to get into a better school. And if you think of happiness in this way, you're never actually going to get there. But research is actually now showing us that if you're happy first, if I can elevate your happiness in the present, you actually work harder and you end up being more successful than you ever could be. This is the ultimate forward-looking predictor of success. What do I mean by that? Compared to counterparts, neutral or stressed, happy doctors are 19% more accurate at diagnosing their patients. Salespeople are over 37% more effective at closing, and from an operational standpoint, you can do something up to 30%, 31% more effectively. And this is just the beginning. There's studies that show that we're more creative, that are problem solving, more resilient, healthier, and more innovative when we're happy versus neutral or stressed. Now, I don't have too much time, so I'm going to talk about one thing that elevates your happiness that you can do. Have any of you guys heard of the nuclear effect? Okay, the term nuclear it means a new Googler, so it's a new hire at Google. We have a team at Google called the People Analytics team, and they're like in our HR team. And they found this phenomenon. Basically, for most people at Google, their happiest day at Google is their first day. And then it's all downhill from here. They're really happy, and then it's a job, so something sort of happens and you establish a new baseline. That's your total happiness. But what we actually found, there were Googlers who were more like this green line. They were just consistently elevated the whole time. And the number one difference, the only biggest difference we were able to find between the green and the blue was their levels of gratitude. So the people who were the green line, they had higher levels of gratitude than the other people in the study. They were more optimistic, they saw things as a blessing, right? They were just happy to be there, and that elevated their happiness. And there's a really famous study where they took the journals of nuns, they divided them into 2 groups. They had nuns who journaled about positive experiences and ones who mostly journaled negative experiences. And they followed these nuns, and what they found was the ones who journaled positive experiences lived on average 10 years longer than their counterparts. It then goes on to show that by like age 85, all the negative ones are like dead, and like the positive ones are just like still kicking. So there's research that shows when you journal positive, just things you're grateful for, it starts to rewire your brain to focus on the positive things in your environment. Just take 2 minutes, and it can literally be anything. Broad, specific, whatever. Quick summary. 1, small habits compound. They create extraordinary gains. 2, focus on the forward. Set forward-looking goals and knock them out of the park. Number 3, happiness predicts success. Focus on happiness, elevate your happiness, increase all your outputs. The last thing I'll say is something that we now know about happiness is if you take your total happiness, only 10% is predicted by the external world around you. So things like you drive a nice car or you work at Google, let's say. Whereas 90% of your happiness is based on the way you perceive the world around you. So things like you drive a nice car or you work at Google, let's say. Whereas 90% of your happiness is based on the way you perceive the world around you. 90% of your happiness is based on the way you perceive the world around you. So things like you drive a nice car or you work at Google, let's say. Whereas 90% of your happiness is based on the way you perceive the world around you. which is amazing news because all you have to do is just slightly change your perception. You can dramatically impact your happiness and create a real revolution.